Well, good morning and welcome to Strong Tower Church. Man, you guys have chose the right Sunday to be here. Man, God's Spirit is in this place. Can we show God some love before we kick today off? I have been looking forward to this moment for some time now. Man, I am on stage with some wonderful friends, wonderful folks that I get to call family here at Strong Tower Church. And, as we got to sort of cover what we're going to be talking about earlier in the week, I was so excited for you to be able to hear their story. I know today that they're going to do a remarkable job of walking through parts of their story. They won't have the opportunity to go through all of their story. But if you would love to have a conversation with any of these men or women on the stage after service, you're going to have that opportunity. And I would encourage you when we experience this moment, go by and hug their neck, shake their hands, whatever they're comfortable with, and tell them that you love them. And for them being so brave and so courageous in sharing their story, for guys like me who we get to do this every week, it's one thing. But for men and women who this is total out of their element, but they believe so powerfully in what they have to share, and I do too, that has the power and the opportunity to change lives and set people free with the gospel message of Jesus Christ. And you're going to get to hear that as part of their stories. And so I'm joined by some wonderful people. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn it over to my good friend, Mr. Josh Gregory, and he's going to be able to lead us through our Recovery Sunday.
Thank you, Pastor David. Very grateful to be a part of this service. Me and my wife have been coming to Strong Tower Church for about 6 years. This is what we call home. This is our home. I brought some friends with me today that is very close to me. Their stories are powerful. It's how God picked each and every one of us up out of the midst of hell and set us on that rock. So I'm very grateful. I have a lot of gratitude. I'm emotional. So, like Pastor David said, this stage is very intimidating, but we just want to reach that one person out there today, either online or in this room, that struggles with something, and lead them to Jesus. That's our goal today. Because we've been up here, we lived it, we know our stories, and we made it through. So I'm going to introduce my first friend. His name is Mark, and he's going to share a little bit of his story with us.
Hello, I'm Mark, and I'm a grateful and recovering addict. I've been a member of Strong Tower Church. My wife has about 4.5 years. Let me see. Let me start at the beginning. How did my addiction start? For one, my story is a little bit different from everybody else's. If you'll go to any 12-step meeting or rehab, you'll hear a lot of trauma from childhood, like whatever, broken households, sexual, whatever it is. That wasn't my story. I grew up with a good mother and father. I grew up in church. We was the family that went Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday night, the work day at church. We was always there. So when they say addiction excludes nobody, that means nobody. Mine started I was probably 13, 14 years old, riding bicycles through Gallatin. A buddy of mine's aunt had bought some pints of whiskey, and there was 2 or 3 of us, and they was all drinking, so I just wanted to feel included. I was sort of a shy kid and teen in my early age, so I drank. I liked the way it made me feel. The more I hung out with people, the more I was introduced to other drugs until I found my drug of choice. I went through a divorce because of my addiction. Let's see here. But I led me to my wife now. But I was addict for 25 years. I probably started regularly using it 19, 20 years old. I was a function addict for many years. I had a job. I paid my bills. And then it got to be I would just use on Friday, Saturday. Then it become Sunday, Monday, every day. I went through my money. I lied. I stole. I was a manipulator. I done everything there was under the sun to get away from it. I probably was one of the addicts that run with the roughest of the roughest crowds that you could be around. Joined a motorcycle club, was in it 7, 8 years, run all across the United States. I thought that was my life. And but I always knew every time I got high that I was doing wrong, because I knew what right was. Jesus and God never left me, but I turned my back on them. And it always, no matter where I was at when I was getting high, I always knew what I was doing was wrong. I never did think about it. I tried to move away from it. You can't move away from addiction, because addiction will follow you wherever you go in life. Religion will not get you clean. Church won't get you clean. But getting on your hands and knees and give it to Jesus Christ will get you clean. I was at my rock bottom on the tail end of my recovery. Me and my wife now, Jackie, we was living in different households. We was fighting every day. The first day we'd be all right high together. The next 7 or 8 days we fought nonstop, was not around each other, could not stand each other. Loved each other. We didn't hate each other. We hated what the disease of addiction was doing to me and her. I had to do some jail time, which is probably my 100th time being in jail. Jail was just another day to me. It wasn't nothing big. That was my life. I was the one with, people always ask when you're in jail, when you're leaving, you gonna be back? 99% of people will say, oh, I won't be back. That's the one that's going back every time. I was the one when I left jail. They said, you coming back, Mark? Oh yeah, I'll see y'all next week. I knew I was coming back. That was just me. I didn't care. And I had to do some jail time in Macon County. I had never been in Macon County jail. The first time I'd ever got up and was honest with the judge in my life, I got 30-day sentence. I was like, well, I can sleep 30 days away. What's that? I ended up getting what they call 2 for 1, so I got out in 15 days, was supposed to. And my wife had got clean 7 days before I decided to change my life. And I didn't know at the time I was changing my life. My thing was, I was getting out of jail, I was fixing to get high. When I was turning myself into the jail, I was getting high going in the parking lot. Somebody said, man, you get high in the parking lot of jail. What are they gonna do, put me in jail? I'm already going anyway. It don't matter. That was my mindset, So I was going into jail. I was in jail. My wife had come see me. My mom had come see me. And so there's just as much drugs in jail as there out of jail. I was in jail. Somebody offered me a line of meth. That was my drug of choice, which that don't matter. Drugs are drugs. And I remember, I really think it was Jesus laid it on me, because when I picked up to do the line, my wife was like, if you're not going to live this life when you get out, I'm not going to be around you, which I thought it was just talk. But somebody offered me a line. I was going to do it. And I grabbed it and I was like, nah, man, I'm going to try to get clean when I get out here. I said, if I can't resist dope in jail, how am I going to resist it out on the street? So I didn't do it. Well, I was in jail, and I remember her telling me, she come see me, when you get out tomorrow, why don't you go to a 12-step meeting with me? I was like, well, I'll go with you Thursday. Tomorrow, just give me one day. That was just an excuse. All I had excuse. Give me one more day. Well, I was hung up the phone from my visit with her, and the guard said, Mark Woods all the way. When that means that when you're in jail, you're going home. I was like, it was over Monday. I got out actually in 14 days. So I walked out. She's like, well, since you get out today, you're going to meet with me tomorrow. I was like, all right, I'll go to 12 step, meet with you. I'd never been to rehab. Got offered it when I went to court many times. That wasn't me. I wasn't going to rehab. So I got out. Still had no desire to quit doing drugs at this point. I went to a meeting and I was sitting there, and it was at a church, and I just looked up and I said, God, if you want to show me a sign, just show me a sign, I'll quit. You know, poking God once again. That's what I did. I was always a foxhole prayer. I was sitting in that meeting, and it was 1 minute from the meeting to start. Somebody tapped me on the shoulder, and I looked up, and it was the first guy I'd done my drug of choice with. I looked up and I said, you got jokes, don't you? The first person that was my sign to get clean. In my life, I've never took nothing serious. Never school, football, my job, not even my life. But that's when I made the decision, I'm going to take recovery as serious as I can. And by the grace of God, I got 4.5 years clean.
Thanks, Mark. In your story, in your testimony, you shared about rock bottom. Explain to people that may be living in their rock bottom that there is a total surrender to one person that will relieve us, get us back on track. Can you share what that was to you?
Rock bottom's a lot of things for a lot of people, but my rock bottom was I was tired of looking at my mom and dad and my wife and my kids and lying to them over and over and over again. That was my rock bottom. I surrendered my life, and I thank Jesus every day I did, because I laid my dad to rest July 31st this year. And the prayer I said when he took his last breath was, thank you for giving me 48 years with him. And thank you for giving me 4.5 years clean before you took my dad home. And I meant that prayer more than I've ever meant any prayer in my life. And for people that's at rock bottom right now, all I can suggest is get in a recovery program, go to a rehab, take some suggestions, because the drugs have changed since I quit. I've had more friends die in the last 4 years than I did in 25 years of my addiction. So you might wake up tomorrow, but tomorrow's never promised. You better rock bottom better be today, because you might not wake up tomorrow. That's all I got.
Thanks, Mark. So, yes, thank you for sharing that. My next guest is going to be Morgan. How you doing, Morgan?
Well, good morning. I knew I wasn't going to do good with this microphone. I'm Morgan Owens, and I'm a recovering alcoholic and addict. And my story is like a lot of other people's who are in a 12-step program. You know, my parents split up when I was 1, and I did get to go to church some growing up with my mom, and I did give my life to the Lord when I was 7 years old. And, you know, I know that's really young, and I think part of me wanted to because all the other kids were. And also, I really did believe that Jesus was the Son of God and that he came so I could have forgiveness. And I was scared of hell. You know, I didn't want to go to hell. And actually, Pastor David is the one that baptized me and said my prayer with me whenever I gave my life to God. However, not long after that, I just didn't really go back to church as much with my family, and I just quit pursuing God, quit pursuing that relationship. And it's like someone else already said, you know, I would say those foxhole prayers, or, now I lay me down to sleep type stuff, but there really was no connection. Like, I wasn't going to God with my problems. And so, anyways, I always wanted to drink. I mean, even from a young age, like we'd be at a party or something and I'd be trying to sneak drinks out of people's cups. I don't know what my problem was, but I just had this big hole inside of me. Like the older I got, the bigger the hole was. I just felt so empty. And so I tried everything to fill that hole. It was, guys, and then it was alcohol, and then it was drugs. And, one day what was working for me and what was filling that hole, it didn't work anymore. My fix had turned on me. I felt so lonely, so isolated, and so miserable doing what I was doing. But yet I felt like I still had to do it. Like, drugs were my master and I was its slave. I had no choice in the matter, even though it wasn't working anymore. And that was back in 2018. And I was sitting in my bathroom and I just remember, even though I didn't pray a lot back then, I said, God, if you will show me what I have to do to be able to stop this, I'll do it. And that was different from the other prayers of, God help me, and then getting mad because nothing happened. I wasn't willing to do the work. And I think the major difference this time was I was actually willing to do something different. And, when he spoke to me, it was just, you need to go back to recovery. And so I did. And, I've been in there, like they said, a little over 4 years. And, I worked the steps, and it's a fellowship, it's a family. And, it gave me, working those steps gave me a spiritual experience. And that's how I got back connected to God. And, they told me I need to hit my knees every morning and ask God to help me and thank him every night. And that's what I do. And I really believe that is what has kept me off of drugs and alcohol for as long as I've been off of it. And, just helping others, I really do believe that looking back now, everything I went through, it had a purpose. It was because I was going to need to help some people, find what I found. And since I've been back in recovery, I've rededicated my life to God. And when I came up out of that water the second time, I'm telling you, there was just no better feeling. I felt something I'd never felt before. And I met my husband in recovery. And we have 2 beautiful children, and we have our own business. And to come from where I came from at one point, that's a miracle. And, I think for me, rock bottom was when I was spiritually bankrupt and emotionally bankrupt. And so that's all I got.
Thanks, Morgan. I can relate to Morgan. I had that hole inside of me too that I was trying to fill. And a wise man told me one time, he said, you can't put a chemical substance on a spiritual problem. He said, work on yourself within. So our next guest is going to be Jackie. Now, Jackie is very nervous. We went like a moment of silence and a little prayer for Jackie. Jackie's got a powerful story, and I love you, Jackie. I'm gonna turn it over to Jackie.
So I have stage fright, so I'm working through this, but I got it. So my name is Jackie. Grew up in Knoxville, where my grandparents raised me. My grandmother died when I was 12. I moved up here. Moved in with my birth mom. I got introduced to my drug of choice when I was 17 years old. Sorry, y'all. But I got introduced to my drug of choice at 17. 17 to 19, I was doing my drug of choice hard. I had my daughter when I was 20. I laid off of it for a little while, but I always went back to it because it was my comfort zone. When I was 34 is when I got clean. A neighbor of mine invited me to, he called it Sunday school at his house. The night before I got clean, I was using, had no plans of going to his Sunday school. Lord, y'all. But I woke up the next morning and something told me to go to it. I fought with that going to it for a minute. I was going to go back to bed and then I was going to get up and I was going to figure out how I was going to use next. But something kept telling me to go over there. Little did I know that I thought I was going to see my neighbor, but little did I know I was going to see God really, because he gave me a real talking to what I really needed. At the end of it, he was like, what are you going to do? Are you going to go out there and use again? Or are you going to actually do what you say you're going to do? I was like, I'm actually going to do what I said I was going to do. Little did I know a user friend's wife would be my best friend today. I was like, I'm going to go over to Brandy's house. And I'm done. I'm done using. I'm done with it all. So he took me over there. At the time, I didn't have a car or nothing. I went over there and knocked on her door. She came to it. And it's just like, what are you doing? I was like, I got to talk to you. I'm here to stay. I'm not going anywhere until I know that I'm good. That I'm not going to go chase nothing. The desire of using had been lived. It got easier. Sorry. I'm lost. Sorry. Thank you. But yeah, I was at Brandy. I was at her house. I stayed there for like almost a month. I was there. She basically had to hold me down because people that I used with would call my phone and be like, I just need to see you. And there was that part of me that wanted to go but didn't want to go. And she's like, you're not going nowhere. You don't want it no more. So I've been clean 4.5 years now. By the grace of God, he's all in my story. I go to him all the time. Without God, I wouldn't be where I am today. I believe that.
Jackie? Jackie, would you share with us how important a small group or support group is for people like us?
It's very important. It's very important. Getting into the meetings, getting your support group, it's very important because you're going to have those times that you're going to fall, that you just got to talk to somebody and let God talk to them, letting you know that you're okay, that you're going to make it one more day.
Thank you, Jackie. So my next guest is going to be Willie, my man.
Hey, how's it going? My name's Willie Owens. I've been coming to Strong Tower here about 2 years. I've been in recovery for going on about 5 years now. My story starts out. I'm from Dixon, Tennessee. I grew up in a kind of a broken home. My parents were, they used alcohol and drugs. And they split up when I was about 8 years old. I lived with my grandmother. She raised me most of my childhood, and on up into my teenage years and stuff. We were at church every Sunday. At church on Wednesday nights. I got saved when I was about 8, and then baptized again when I was about 13. When I was for sure about it. I tried to do my best to go to church, and was. I'm in Sunday school and vacation Bible school and everything. And, I still, things kind of turned for me when I started high school. I always kind of felt like almost what Morgan talked about, like almost like I had a hole inside of me, and I just felt like I didn't really fit in, and, when I was a freshman in high school, I took my first drink of alcohol and smoked marijuana, and it really made me feel like I fit in, and I remember the way it made me feel. It was like a big warm hug, and for the next few years, I started going down the wrong path. I started hanging out, with people that were partying. My drinking started to get worse. I started getting in trouble with the police, and even as a juvenile, underage drinking charges and stuff like that. I had 3 of them before I ever turned 18, and as I got close to graduating high school, my drinking, turned into, taking a lot of pills and a lot of harder drugs. I just barely graduated high school, and I went to work for my uncle. He doing HVAC, and he, took an effort to train me and put me to work right out of high school. And I started making a little bit of money, and my using and my addiction just got worse. Like Marcus said, it kind of went from on the weekend thing to every day. When I turned 20, I overdosed for the first time. I woke up in the hospital, handcuffed to the bed, and I had all my family there and the police there, and they told me, you're either gonna, you're either gonna get some help or we're gonna take you to jail, and I knew I had a problem. I knew I had a problem, and I had always felt that conviction from God, because I knew God, and I really had to fight it, and so over the next few years, I tried to stay sober. I would make it a few days, a few weeks, a few months, but I just kept going right back to it. Anybody that that has an addiction, it's using against your will. As bad as you don't want to do it, you just can't stop. So over the next 6 or 7 years, I went to 5 or 6 different rehabs. Was in jail 6 or 7 times. Probably about 10 arrests. I drug my family through the mud. The people that I love the most. I stole from them. I lied to them. I manipulated them. I burned every bridge I ever walked across. And I just, the last time I had served about 6 months in jail, and I wanted to change my life so bad. I swore when I got out of jail, I swore up and down I was never going to touch anything ever again, and I made it about 2 or 3 weeks. was trying to go to church some and going to some recovery meetings. And the first time I was faced with it, I used, and it was at that point that, to not want to do something so bad and do it anyways, and just felt complete and utter defeat, and over the next 10 days, my life got real bad. I was on death's doorstep, health-wise. I didn't weigh nothing. I was facing going to prison. My family didn't want to have nothing to do with me, rightfully so. Like I said, I hurt the ones that I love the most, and I just found myself all alone, and I just didn't want to live anymore. I was, I couldn't see a way out, and I just didn't want to live anymore, So in that moment, I just, with tears in my eyes, I just hit my knees and I just asked God, I just begged God to please help me, and over the next couple of days, something changed. About 2 days later, I got into rehab in Castilian Springs, and I didn't really think that I was going to stay sober. I just didn't know what else to do. But over the past 5 years, I've just put one foot in front of the other, and tried to rely on God, and do my best to try to help others, and He's. When I left rehab, I didn't have anything. I had the clothes on my back. I didn't have any money, no license, no place to live. And He's given me all that back. He's blessed me with a beautiful wife, 2 beautiful kids. Opportunity to be a father. I've got a license. I've got a business license. A refrigeration license. All that stuff that he's given me back. And I'm just so grateful for everything that he's done for me. And I'm just happy to be here today.
Thank you, Willie. This week we was up here and we was, and I ain't gonna say practicing, but we was trying to get comfortable with this stage. And Willie was telling his story, and my story and his story is so much alike, so much relatable. Willie, how can we spread hope to the hopeless out there that may be watching online or someone in this room that's hopeless today, or struggles with addiction, or struggles with a codependency, or something that we could possibly lift them up instead of letting them to believe that there's no one else out there like them?
For so long I thought that I was going to live like that for the rest of my life. I was hopeless, and it can be done with surrounding yourself with like-minded people. Changing some people and places and things. And getting away from that stuff, and relying on God. And there's all kinds of resources out there for people who want to change. And that's really the first step. Is just asking for help. Giving up. And saying I can't do this. I relied on God. I mean, I've been in church my whole life. But a lot of times I left God at the door when I left. And that's what I tried to work on this time, is that personal relationship with God and with Jesus Christ, and taking him with me every day, throughout the day. And but yeah.
Thanks, Willie. Give everybody a round of applause. So it looks like we're running out of time, but I want to announce this. Waymakers is out in the lobby. They have brochures, resources, information about addiction and recovery. They have programs for family strengthening, because disease of addiction is not just a one-person thing. It affects the family and people you're around, employers. They also have programs for personal growth. And one of these in here that got my attention was life coaching, and another one was a broken princess. This is for women. So if you know someone that's, please stop and pick up some of these brochures. It may not be for you. You may know someone at work, or you have someone close to you. But let them know they're not alone, and there's resources out there. So I'm going to turn it over to Pastor David, and he's going to dismiss us. We are going to be in that little room back there if anyone would like to come and talk with us more or ask questions. But my name is Josh, and I'm very grateful that y'all let me be a part of this today.
Hey, as we get ready to shift gears, I want to make just a couple of things obvious for us. If you're here, one thing you heard across this stage today is that you can't do this alone. You need people to walk with you. We know that there's a Savior named Christ, named Jesus, and we can call on him anywhere. You heard how each man and woman, how they called on him from different atmospheres, different environments, different moments. But you also heard how they realized that I can't fight this battle alone, and none of us were ever meant to. We need help. We all need help, okay? I like what Josh has told me over the years. Me and Josh become really good buddies, and there's many forms of addiction, not just alcohol or drugs. There's many, many forms of addictions, okay? And I'll go and confess, I'm a Mountain Dew addict, I'll just tell you. And Reese's Pieces addict, but a lot of things, right? Of course, I'm joking with you, but there's a ton of addictions, and we need help in trying to overcome those things, okay? And so I'm going to go ahead and get my guest. I'm going to ask you guys if you'll go ahead and make your way to that Next Steps room or Volunteer Central room. As they're making their way there, I'm going to ask you just to bow your head right now and close your eyes with me just for a second. How many of you would say here today, hey, Pastor David, what each person shared today, it ministered to me. It ministered to me. I needed this. I needed to hear their story. Anybody just want to raise your hand, head down, eyes closed, just say, hey, I needed this today. I needed this. God spoke to me. God moved me. I realize I'm not alone, and I realize I'm not the only one fighting this type of battle. But maybe you're going through it. I like what a couple of our guests said today, that they were functional addicts. I mean, so they could go to work, they could operate a business, they could, operate in their marriage. But on the inside, man, there was a battle that was brewing that they was not winning. Today, I just want to pray over us. And as I pray over us, I just want you to reach out to God right now. Just call on his name. And as we dismiss in a few moments, there's a great organization outside called Waymakers. I encourage you to have a conversation with them. It's worth the conversation. Go to Volunteer Central, where our guest is right now, and have a conversation with one of them. Stop doing life alone, okay? No, we can't overcome these things by ourselves. We need Jesus, and we need others. Father, right now as I come to you, I want to thank you so much for your mercy and your grace, and I thank you for the courage and the boldness of each one who's sat on this platform today. God, I thank you for their story. I like what Joseph said in the book of Genesis, what you intended for my bad, God used for my good. Father, you can turn our stories around. I love what Paul said, that you, God, cause all things to work together for the good of those who love you and who are called according to your purpose. God, you're going to use these individual stories to affect and change other people's stories. Father, I pray you'll give us the strength to ask for help. You'll give us strength to stop walking alone, to stop hiding. But God, just to come forward and say, Jesus, I need you. I can't defeat this on my own. I am weak. I am tired. I am vulnerable. I am lonely. Help us, Jesus, to rely on you. Father, we're not a disappointment to you. Your word tells us. God, you're not ashamed of us, but you love us and you want us to get well. As Morgan said in her story, she was emotionally bankrupt. spiritually depleted. Jesus, may we run to you today. We love you, Father. Give us the strength to take the appropriate steps. And may we know that we're not facing this alone anymore, but there are men and women who will come alongside of us and take a step with us for step. In your holy name we do pray. Amen. As they bring the house lights up, as you gather your belongings, please, this is your day. Waymakers is a great organization that we get to partner with and we get to help and bless, and we're so blessed we have the opportunity to do that. Go to Volunteer Central, have a conversation with these fine folks, or stop out at the Waymaker table. God bless you. I'll see you next Sunday.
Thank you so much for watching today. Our prayer is that God has moved through this online service to encourage your faith in your life. In fact, we love hearing how God is moving. Please comment below and let us know what God's doing in your life. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and also the notification bell so that you will know when there's more content from Strong Tower Church out. We love you. Have a great day.